Chapter 11, the book of John. It was Matthew 2. But now we go into chapter 11, the book of John. Help me, Lord. God, I just ask, Father, that you use me this morning. God, you can preach without me. Lord, I just ask you to let me be a part of it this morning, God. Lord, just lift up the name of Jesus and honor Him in all that we do and say. Lord, if there's one among us that don't know Christ this morning, Lord, let them find Christ today. Lord, let them come to an altar, Lord, repentance, calling out to Him, believing Him to be the God He said He is. In your name I pray. Amen. Chapter 11, the Bible says, Now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sister sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that saith he to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again. His disciples saith unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? And Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in a day? If any man walk in the city, he stumbleth not, but he seeth the light of the world, of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things saith he, and after that he saith them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death. But they thought that he had spoken of taking of a rest and sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And I am glad for your sake that I was not there, to the intent you may have believed. Nevertheless, let us go unto him and be seated. I'm going to read some more of it, but let's kind of get the gist of what's going on. Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus that said, Thou whom thou lovest, which he was talking about Lazarus, Thou whom thou lovest is sick. Thou whom thou lovest is sick. But Jesus said to his disciples, This sickness is not unto death, but for my glory. But for my glory. Now I want you to think about how quickly things change in the life of God's people. How quickly things can change in the life of God's people. He said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. And then it said Jesus loved them. And then after that, he said to his disciples, Let us go to Judea. The disciples had no plans made to go to Judea with Jesus. They were trying to kill him the last time they were there. And they thought it a very odd thing for him to go back into Judea. Let me assure you, God has a plan that most of the time differs drastically from what your plan is. And I want you to remember this as you move along into this new year. Now, you know, we certainly should be making plans, and we should be lining things up, and we should be working by what we think is the will of God out ahead of us. But we also should remember God can change that at any time. These disciples, once again, had no idea that they'd be going back into Judea with Jesus. But All he did was said, we're going to Judea. We're going to Judea. That's it. He didn't give them an explanation. He didn't tell them the plan that was way out ahead or how it was going to turn out if we go to Judea or anything else. He simply said, we leave them, boys, let's go. And they, knowing who Jesus was and is, they just left and headed to Judea with him. And then they said, well, look, if Lazarus is just sick and he's asleep, doesn't he do well? He'll be fine. He'll do fine. Jesus said he's dead. But in the verses before that, he said, this is not a sickness unto death, but that God be glorified and the Son of God to be glorified. Now he's telling them, it's not a sickness unto death. And then he tells them Lazarus is dead. Not a sickness unto death, Lazarus is dead. What he was meaning by that, this is not a death, or this is not a sickness whereby he will die and be gone. This is a short period of time that he's going to spend in the underworld, and he's coming back. So it's not a typical Lazarus is dead, let's bury him, forget him, all this is over. That's not Jesus. Jesus was speaking in terms that you would think that they would better understand, but they didn't. They didn't. So they left to go to Bethany. And these things says he unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may wake him out of his sleep. Then said his disciples, he sounds like he's okay to us. He sounds like he's okay to us. Now what we would have been doing at this time is we would have been throwing every excuse in the world not to go to Bethany, not to go back into Judea down to the city of Bethany. Lord, we got better things to do. It sounds like he's going to be okay. Could we not go down there? And Jesus said, I'm going to wake him up. I'm going to wake him up. And then he had to get plain with them and said, then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And then he says the oddest thing, and I'm glad. Verse 14 says, Lazarus is dead. Verse 15 says, I'm glad for your sake that I was not there, to the intent you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. He said, I'm glad I wasn't there. Lazarus would have never died. He said, but your sake, for your sake he has died. For your benefit, you're going to see me raise somebody from the dead. You're going to be growed a lot because I'm fixing to do something that you don't even know I can do. I'm fixing to change everything because Martha and Mary had done hired the mourners to come in and mourn and cry and wail for days and days and days and grieve and all of that over the death of Lazarus. They had put his clothes and done cleaned out his closet, done got everything ready to go. Lazarus is dead and nobody can do anything about anybody that died. I mean, if the Lord had been here, yes, he could have kept him from being sick, but he's dead now and all hope is gone. Listen to me. All hope is not gone. Until Jesus passes by, until Jesus says it's no point, then you might want to leave the door cracked open a little bit because the Lord's liable to step into your life at any time and change everything, even if he has to perform a miracle. Sometimes he just has to perform a miracle. And we should not be so shy or so inhibited that we don't think, that there's no need in praying anymore. Wait a minute, the Lord hadn't gotten in touch with me on this. He hasn't told me to quit praying. Just like somebody that you hear has got cancer and it's stage 4 and there's no hope and all hope is shattered and gone. Well, if they're not gone, all hope is not shattered and gone yet. Now, the Lord may continue on in that path. It may continue on that way. They may be headed toward death. But honestly, until they leave, I think God people were still praying for me. Because we thought that I was going to leave. And I was certainly praying, you know, for the church and for my wife and for my kids and for the will of God and everything. You know, I was worried to death about what's Teresa going to do, what's the church going to do. You know, Lord, I'm praying to Him like, you know, God, now that I'm dying, I need to know this or this or that. I wasn't looking at it from a point I had done accepted that I was going to die and I wasn't going to be here this time this year. I had no intentions of living any longer than just a few more months. I mean, I done marked myself off. I was, you know, already dead as far as I had in my heart, and I felt like that there was no hope. But I want to encourage you to say, well, goodness, if the preacher gets to the point that he feels like there's no hope, what can we expect to do? You're just like me. I'm just like you. I really didn't think there was any hope. And there was things going on in my body that I could not explain, understand, or anything else. And I thought I'd be gone, but you know what? I'm not. And you know what? I don't even have cancer anymore. Lazarus, when Jesus called him forth, when Jesus called him out, he's not going to be dead anymore. He was dead. Jesus said he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Lazarus is dead. Jesus said so. But he kept on heading toward Bethany. He kept on going to do something. But he said, I'm glad for your sake that I wasn't there, or you'd have never experienced this. He said, but you're going to experience something that you never could imagine. Then said Thomas, which was called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us go, that we may die with him. So Thomas goes, hey, we might as well go and die too. We might as well follow Jesus down there. We're going to die. We're going to die. We go to Bethany, we're going to die. But they kept on following him. They went with Jesus. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. Well, 4 days was the cutting off point. You know, if he could have come when he was 1 day in the grave, maybe. If he'd have come when he was 2 days, slim chance. If he had come when it was 3 days, would have been nothing but the greatest miracle that could ever happen. He would come out of the grave. But if he comes on the 4th day, Lazarus not coming back. It's 4 days, it's over. You're too late. You're too late. Let me tell you something. Jesus doesn't come into the situation too late. Amen. In all the human wisdom that we have, would have certainly said it's over. It's too late. He's gone. We're going to have to accept it. Lazarus is dead. We're going to have to go in another direction. We're going to have to think on another turn because we need to get things ready. You know, we've got him in the grave now. We've got to take care of all his final things that's got to be taken care of. Lazarus ain't coming back. Lazarus ain't coming back. It's over for him. There's no way that he's going to come back. Now, Bethany was nigh to Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off, which is only about 2 miles. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Mary, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. If you'd have just come on, Lord, when I told you to. Lord, you don't understand. I sent a message that was of the most important, and the situation was critical, and you had to have come that day, or there'd be no point in you coming. I know what I was doing when I sent for you, Lord. I knew that Lazarus didn't have a chance unless you come. And you didn't come. Why did you come when I told you to come? Because he doesn't live by your orders. God doesn't come and go at our command. He comes when he's supposed to. You say, you know, and this is sometimes, and I don't know why it comes up, but it comes up all the time when I consider, why are people still alive? When I go to a rest home, and there's people in there that are 90 years old, they haven't seen any of their children or their grandchildren or anything in 10 years, they're still laying there, they're still alive. What's going on? What's going on, Lord? Why don't you come down here and put all these people out of their misery and let them go? They say they're saved, why don't you let them go home? I mean, that's just the logical way for us to think. And I know the Lord must look at me and say, well, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't understand anything that I'm doing. That's right. You don't understand anything I'm doing. And yes, the logical thing would be to let the folks go on home. But I've got a bigger plan. I've got a bigger plan. And I've seen it, not every time, because I don't know everything. But He has let me witness things that I didn't even ever think of. I'll see some of the kids folks over here, over there, and I'll bring up Mama, you know. And I listen to what changes have taken place in their life in the last couple of years, you know, because she's over there, that this had to change and that had to change, and everything had to be rearranged, and their whole life had to be resituated, and their children learned all different kinds of lessons through those times. And I say, you know what, God had a bigger plan than I did. A much bigger plan than I did. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met Him. Then said Martha unto Jesus, if thou hast been here, my brother had not died. But I know even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Wow. Hey, Martha was going about it the right way. Now, Mary was sitting at the house. She said, I don't care who's out there. Lazarus is dead and I'm not coming out of the house. Martha said, wait a minute, there's a little bit of hope because Jesus is here. There's still a chance because Jesus is here. And Martha must have looked, Mary must have looked at her and said, now Martha. She said, well, I'm going to talk to him anyway. I'm going to talk to him anyway. And she had a little glimmer of hope that there was something could still happen. Boy, I want to hold on to that kind of hope in every situation in my life. You know what? It looks bad. It looks bad, but you know what? I got a God that can take everything that's wrong in my life, turn it on its head, and I'll have a different life tomorrow. I can have a different life because you know how our imagination works. And when we see someone going through this, we find out someone's got stage 4 cancer. We find out somebody that is dying, and they've already called the family in, and they're on hospice, and we all of us have dealt with that to some degree. I want to give you that glimmer of hope, whatever it might be. Until God's through, it ain't over. It ain't over. And the prayer that I can always pray in that situation is this. God, this lady that's laying here, this man that's laying here, they told me they're your child. And God, I know you don't mistreat any of your children. And God, whatever's best for them is going to happen. You're going to allow to happen what's best for them because you love your children. And you don't lose your children. You know where they're at. You know how long they've been there. And you know what they need. So I can always pray that. The Bible says, then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask God, God will give it thee. Jesus saith to her, thy brother shall rise again. Thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. She said, I know. Even if he's dead, he's better off than he was because he was real sick, Lord. And he was hurting real bad. And he'd been sick a long time. And I know it was probably, you're right, it was probably best that he go on and he will rise again in the resurrection. I know that, Lord, and that's probably what's best. That's probably what's best. But I'm hanging on to this idea. Whatever you ask God, he could do. Whatever you ask God, boy, boy, if we had that kind of faith, if we had that kind of faith and said, you know what, everybody's done quit praying, everybody's done gone home, they done turned the lights out and everything else, but I'm going to pray again. I'm going to pray another time. I'm going to pray one more time. I ain't give up yet. And the Lord can work a miracle for me, just like He did for Lazarus. So I'm going to hang on to, I can still pray. I can still pray. Well, see, this is the thing about that is, that's the only thing you can do, is pray. You can't bring life back. You can't jump into bed with them and shake them and make them stand up. You can't say stand up and then stand up. You can't do any of that. If anything's going to happen other than them die, the Lord has to do it. Amen. Everything's in His hands now. Everything's in His hands now. So when everything's in His hands, all you can do is ask Him. And a lot of times, that may have been the point. Till you abandoned everything down here and everything that was possible for you to do and said, Lord, it's yours. I believe in you. I believe in you. Martha saith unto Him, I know, but that's the resurrection. That's a long time off. But Jesus saith unto her, well, this is a good one. Jesus saith unto her, I could just see Him taking her by her face and saying, Martha, now calm down. Just calm down, look at me. I am the resurrection. What? I am the resurrection. See that where people have this trouble, they hear me make the statement when they talk about serving on the Sabbath and Sabbath. And I say, look, give me your face. Jesus is the Sabbath. He is the Sabbath. Crazy? The Sabbath ain't Saturday, it's a man. It's Jesus. Jesus is now the Sabbath. And we keep the Sabbath. They still don't understand, but I tell them anyway. He is the Sabbath. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had so said, she went away and called for Mary, her sister, secretly saying, the Master's out there. And he calling for you. Mary. Lazarus is already dead. I don't want to go out there. You better go outside, Mary. The Master's, she said, the Master's calling for you. The Master's calling for you. Well, wouldn't that just be something for you to be sitting in the house praying for the dead and saying, wait a minute, the Lord needs you right quick before you close them prayers out and you give up all hope and that everything's gone. Before you do that, the Lord's calling for you. The Lord's calling for you. And when she had so said, she went away and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, the Master is come and calleth for thee. As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly and came unto him. Well, if he's calling me, there's something up. Something's up. The Lord's doing something because he's calling me now. He wants me to get out of my mourning mode and come to my worship mode because he must be worshiped. Now, Jesus was not yet coming to the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then went, or the Jews then which were with her in the house and comforted her, when they saw her, that she arose up hastily and went out, followed her, saying, she goeth unto the grave to weep there. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit, and was troubled, and said, Where have you laid him? Where's Lazarus? Where have you laid him? Listen. Jesus didn't need her to tell. Jesus already knew where they had laid him. But Mary needed to realize where Lazarus was. And they said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold, how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man which opened the eyes of the blind have caused that even this man should not have died? Jesus, therefore, again groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone laid upon it. Well, he's kind of familiar with those, graves and caves and stones laid upon them. He was looking forward to that as well. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Take ye away the stone. Take ye away the stone. Martha, that's the last thing she thinks Jesus is going to ask him to do. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Lord, he's rotten. He stinks. Sometimes we do have to ask the Lord to come into some pretty stinky situations. So just because they stink don't mean he don't care. Yeah, but Brother Jimmy, you don't know this guy. You don't know this family. They all stink. The Lord can handle it. If he can handle Lazarus 4 days in the grave, he can handle them too. And he can bring a blessing, and he can revive back to life that which was dead. So just because they stinketh, don't think Jesus don't care, because he still cares. As soon as she heard this, she rose quickly. I'm sorry, I'm cutting back behind now. And say, then when Mary was come where Jesus was, she saw him and fell down at his feet, saith unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother would not have died. Verse 34, Where have you laid him? They said unto him, Come and see. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold, how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man have caused him to live again, or had not died? Jesus therefore again groaning in himself, come into the grave. And it was a cave, and a stone laid upon it. And Jesus said, Take away the stone. Martha, his sister, said unto him, He was dead. She saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Hadn't I told you, Martha? Haven't I told you, Mary? No point in what you were thinking anymore. I'm here. The Lord's here. And everything's changed now. Everything's changed now. You've got God's attention. You've got God's attention. And that's where a lot of us stay at. If we kept God's attention like they had gotten God's attention for that moment, 3 days ago the Lord would have come. But he was trying to get their attention. He got their attention like it takes for God to do something. You say, well, I've been praying about it for a week now. Maybe you ain't got God's attention yet. Maybe you haven't done your part, because listen to me, when God gets ready to answer the prayer and all preparations have been made for him to do so, done. Amen. So if things have begun to linger, if things are dragging behind, think about this. It's not God's part that's not complete. It may be yours. It may be your part that's not complete. You know, because when we pray, I want to just stop and put just a little statement in right here. When we pray, we need to consider, are we really praying? Because prayer is more a condition of your heart than it is the words you use. Think about what I'm saying. It's the condition of my heart when I pray that makes a difference. It's not what I say that makes a difference. God knows everything. And He knows what you even want to say. So it's a matter of heart. If things are not coming like you thought they should, or things are not happening as fast as you think they should be, don't look and see if God's not listening. God's listening. And God knows. But are you in a condition to even ask? That's what you've got to remember. You've got to prove to God that God, whatever you was trying to get me to, or bring me to, or make me think, or get me to wake up and realize, whatever it is, God, I'm there. I'm there now. Can you answer my prayer? Because now I'm there, Lord. I've thrown everything else away and I've lost all hope in anything but you. He said, that's what I'm looking for. He said, you got no hope in anything but me, right? Now pray. Now pray. Because a lot of times we'll be praying and we'll say in our minds, and a lot of times even with our mouth, but Lord, if you don't want to, it's okay with me, I understand. He said, you ain't ready yet. You ain't ready yet. You ain't really asking yet. Because, and he said, well, now, you know, if the Lord don't answer this, we still going to have to go make arrangements and all. But we still got, yeah, you haven't decided He ain't going to answer, that He can answer. You're trying to make up some kind of something that if He don't answer, this is what we'll do. Well, if you're making an arrangement for Him not to answer, He's not answering. Tell you right now, He's not going to answer. He will not answer. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. I wish you would put yourself in this condition like Martha and Mary that stood outside this cave and the stone was rolling away and they knew their brother was in there and they knew he began to rot. I wish you'd put yourself in that place, because listen to me, if you could put yourself in that place and still believe God could do something, God can do something with your life. I'm telling you, God can do something for you. If you're in a position to where you would stand there and say, well, I'm going to wait and see what God does, because God says He'll do something, and not run off and just say, well, Lord, He already thinks we might as well get out. It's going to think that we better get back into the house. But if you'll stand there and say, you know what, I'm going to see what God's going to do. He came, the Lord came, He's standing here, and He's got the power to raise Lazarus from the dead if He will. So they didn't leave, they just stood there. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. Jesus lifted up His eyes and said, Father, I thank Thee that Thou hast heard me. Wow. Wow. The man's dead. He's still in the hole. And he's thanking the Lord already. He believes God's going to lift him up out of there. He believes he's going to be delivered right here. And I knew that Thou heardest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it. That Thou mayest believe, or that they may believe that Thou hast sent me. He said, Lord, I didn't say none of that for my sake. I know You're listening. I know You hear me always. But for their sake, I wanted them to hear that. God, I thank Thee for hearing me. But I already know that You hear me always. And when He had thus spoken, He cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth bound hand and foot with his grave clothes, and his face was bound about with an action. Jesus saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. Loose him, and let him go. He's bound up with grave clothes from the feet to the top of his head, like they wrap a mummy up. He's already wrapped for death. Bound all the way up. Jesus said, take all that off, loose him and let him go. Loose him and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did, believed on him. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees in a council and said, What do we, for this man doeth many miracles? If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and the nations. The Jews was in a fix. They said he did what? Raised stinking Lazarus from the dead. You're kidding, no. Oh Lord, y'all don't need to tell anybody else this. If everybody else hears it, they're going to believe in him. I want to close with this right here. Jesus wants to loose you and let you go. Amen. Wait a minute, Brother Jimmy, I'm not bound up. I'm not wrapped up in grave clothes. Well, what are you wrapped up in then? What are you wrapped up in then? Because God has a specific plan for your life. He has a plan that would take all of your time. And any minute that I checked on you and in your life, and any minute you check on me in my life, I was just headed to go do something for God, or I just got back, or I was making some arrangement to go again, or whatever it was, because God's plan moves forward every day. And every day, part of our daily plan, part of our daily life should have been, well, I'm just getting back from doing some of the Lord's work, or I'm just getting ready, I'm going to do God's work, or I'm sitting here trying to figure out what God wants me to do. I have a situation out in front of me that I need to take care of. Always busy about God's business. Always doing something for the kingdom's sake. And if that's not enveloped into your life, then we're not serving God. We're still serving self. We're still serving self. And I want to ask you this when I close. I want to ask you this. There is a bigger plan than the one you've made. But I want to ask you this. Where are you at in God's bigger plan for Vision Baptist Church? See, God works all his works through the local church. Everything he does through the local church. I want to ask you, where then are you at? What part are you taking? What part are you working out and working on and working through? What part of it are you doing for the sake of Christ and for the sake of Vision Baptist Church? I can't take care of the church, but my whole life's falling apart. When you start doing God's will, your life will quit falling apart. Yeah, but I've got to listen. God keep yours together. Don't worry about that. God got He'll put a wrapper around yours. He'll take care of yours. You need to take care of His. You need to take care of God's business, and then God will take care of your business. You understand what I'm saying? I want you to understand that, because I'm telling you, if everybody that's in this room right now was part of God's plan as it's worked out for Vision Baptist Church, there'd be a whole lot more going on than what's going on at Vision Baptist Church, because it's a big plan. It's a big plan, and we ain't got long to get it all done. The Lord's coming. We don't have long to get it all done, and there ought to be a plan going on all the time. And listen to me, we're not completely void of that. I see different people doing different things at different times, that's trying to keep the will of God moving. But I also see people that standing in the way of everybody else trying to move forward. So I see the whole picture. But what I want to see and what God wants to see is this. Everything that you're planning for Vision Baptist Church, everybody in Vision Baptist Church knows about it. Wait a minute. Well, I can't get nobody to help me do nothing. Well, wait a minute, how many people know about it? Well, they ought to know. We're going to read your mind? Or I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's right, I didn't tell anybody yet. Oh, okay, well, that may be your problem. You hadn't told anybody yet. You know, I've seen people a lot of different times tell me like, well, I can't get any help. Well, who have you told? Well, I ain't told nobody yet. Well, you can go ahead and plan on that. Ain't nobody coming to help you if you don't tell them you need some help. Most of the time, right? And there's another person in here that's still wrapped up in their grave clothes. Why? Because they are prepared for Satan to take to the pit. And they haven't made any other arrangements. They're dressed to go to a pit that burneth forever, where the fire is not quenched, and the worm dieth not, and you burn eternally forever. So they're still wrapped up in grave clothes. They're ready to go, because Satan will wrap you up in grave clothes just as quick as you let him. That way, you're taken out of the picture. He hasn't convinced God of that, but he's convinced you of that, so you don't quit trying. But if you're in here and want to be turned loose this morning, you can be turned loose this morning. You can be set free this morning. And it's up to you. Let's pray. Father, your word, Lord, you say these things are written that we might have an example. Lord, what an example that you presented this morning. Oh God, if I'm wrapped up in the grave clothes, loose me and let me go. Lord, if there's one in here that don't know Christ, and the devil will soon have them completely wrapped up, Lord, rescue them this morning. Lord, let them come and be set loose. And Lord, if there's one of your children in here this morning that's allowed the devil to come into their life, and God, the devil can still come into the life of your children. I know that. And I know he can't possess one of us. For him to possess one of us, that means he'd own some of us. And those of us that's called on Jesus for Savior are owned 100% by him. But Lord, the devil can oppress us from the outside. He can take and wound us up so much in this life, give us so much responsibility, get us so far behind on our bills, get something going on in our life that we can't serve you, and those are grave clothes. Lord, you have your way this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's